Dites-moi d'où il vient, enfin je saurai où je vais. Maman dit que lorsqu'on cherche bien.
Greetings and salutations, Fancy News, Andrew Robbins, the YouTube brother all the way in Switzerland. And you're tuning in to the Black Fire Radio, and you're listening to Pan African Wish Show with your host,
keeping you company throughout the day.
Dis-moi es-tu caché, fais au moins 1000 fois que j'ai compté mes doigts. Hey. Où t'es, papa, où t'es? Où t'es, papa, où t'es? Où t'es, papa, où t'es? Où t'es, où t'es, papa, où t'es? 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 Où t'es, où t'es, papa, où t'es?
You're now listening to the best music.
Feel the freshness.
Qu'on y croit ou pas, il y aura bien un jour, on n'y croira plus. Un jour ou l'autre, on sera tous papa, et d'un jour à l'autre, on aura disparu. Serons-nous détestables? Serons-nous admirables? Des géniteurs ou des génies? Dites-nous qui donne naissance aux irresponsables. Ah, dites-nous qui? Tiens, tout le monde sait comment on fait des bébés, mais personne sait comment on fait des papas. Monsieur, je sais toi, on aurait hérité. C'est ça, faut le sucer de son pouce ou quoi? Dites-nous, c'est caché, ça doit faire au moins 1000 fois qu'on a bouffé nos doigts. Où t'es, papa, où t'es? Où t'es, papa, où t'es? Où t'es, papa, où t'es? Où t'es, où papa, où t'es? Où t'es, 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 où papa, où t'es? Dis-moi où est ton papa, sans même devoir lui parler, c'est ce qui ne va pas. Ah sacré papa, dis-moi où es-tu caché, ça doit faire au moins 1000 fois que j'ai compté mes doigts. Hey.
Keeping you company throughout the day. Get ready.
RC Mukendi over there. I hope the name is like Mukendi because it's from Rwanda. I definitely believe so. But welcome to Let's Pop with Eriton. The ones who are joining us right away over here on the Blackout Fire Radio Network Media for the 21st century. Remember, you can download our app on the Google Play Store, stream on www.blackoutfirenetwork.com for amazing healthy supplements, apparel clothing with a Blackout Fire Radio logo on it. How are you doing? How are you feeling? I hope you had a very productive, restful, fun weekend on your end. Let me know inside of the comment section. Remember, we do have our website, where you can definitely check out the supplements we do have for you. We do have the clothing store section where you'll find the likes of our t-shirts, hoodies, mini hats, max bags with the Black Hot Fire Radio logo on it. But join in right away as we talk about how can Africans change Africa's narrative right away. But before that, let's listen into the health and benefit of some of the compliments we do have for you on our website.
Discover the natural power of ashwagandha, an ancient herb known for its healing properties. For over 3,000 years, ashwagandha has been trusted to reduce stress, increase energy, and improve focus. Our ashwagandha is carefully grown, harvested, and processed to retain its maximum potency. Each root is hand-picked and dried, then ground into a pure organic powder, ensuring the highest quality. Simply mix 1 teaspoon into your favorite beverage or take it in capsule form as prescribed by a healthcare professional. Whether you're looking to balance your stress levels, boost your immune system, or enhance mental clarity, ashwagandha offers a natural solution. Experience the benefits of ancient wisdom backed by modern science. Trust nature. Trust ashwagandha. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition Store.
Super affordable price. You'll definitely get your ashwagandha. We do have the likes of beetroot, multivitamin, and also brain focus, but I'll share the health and benefit of beetroot right away.
Beetroot, nature's powerhouse. Packed with vitamins, antioxidants, and nitrates, it's known to support heart health, boost stamina, and improve blood circulation. Our beetroot is naturally grown and harvested at peak ripeness. The roots are cleaned, dried, and finely ground to preserve their rich nutrition content, giving you all the benefits in one pure form. Add 1 teaspoon of beetroot powder to your juice, smoothie, or water, or take it in capsule form as recommended by your healthcare provider. Beetroot helps enhance endurance, lower blood pressure, and keep you feeling energized and balanced all day. Fuel your body with the natural power of beetroot. Stay strong, stay healthy. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition Store.
$90, you'll definitely get your beetroot. But right away, let's have the conversation on how can Africans change Africa's narrative. And I believe it's by actually evolving, being the best version of ourselves, changing our mindset, and standing on the truth. What's the truth? The truth is basically goes back to things which have not actually been taught to us. I always talk about the educational system each and every time, if you're always joining me on Let's Pop with Iriton, and people actually taking back their power in the political, social, economic sector, and politically. But we do have individuals who are actually trying to do this right away. But before that, we can also take a look on why Americans right away, right now, just a moment as I share that, always are, the history of credit and how debt became a way of life, and basically why retail credit cards are bankrupting American shoppers. And this gives you the confidence on how, as Africans, when you buy anything or own anything here, 100% it belongs to you. You are the owner of whatever property that you own. But there's been a lie since we can remember on how Africa has been super backward, but that's not it. We should change the narrative by actually educating our brothers and sisters, the young ones, on how Africa is great and basically in how civilization started in Africa. I want to share this video right away, right now.
Ever wonder why most people borrow money the way they do? They use loans and credit cards without giving it much thought. Want it now, but don't have all the money for respectable banks to offer loans. And what do you get when you mix consumer demand for stuff and the legalization of personal loans? Well, in the 1920s, you got the birth of the American credit industry. Then a little bit later, at the tail end of the 20s and into the 30s, the Great Depression was raging. The government relaxed lending laws even more to help banks stay profitable. Then, moving into World War II, the economy improved a lot because the war created a ton of new jobs. After the war, the soldiers came home, the economy was in a lot better shape, and the lending laws were still relaxed. That pretty much set the stage for the birth of the credit card in the 1950s. Debt was becoming easier and more socially acceptable for the consumer, and it was more profitable for the lenders. It was a perfect storm. The credit monster has grown like crazy since then. In the past 50 or 60 years, debt has gone from something people were a little ashamed of to something that's totally normal in our culture. Banks keep coming up with all new and different ways to get our money. Everything from high interest rates to a million different little fees that pick our pockets. And we as a society have become so addicted to debt that we still get excited when we're approved for a credit card. We think, hooray, I've been given the opportunity to lose all my money and spend my life in debt. I'm so lucky. The bottom line is that a lot of people you think look wealthy are completely broke. A big house, nice car, and flashy jewelry may look great on is not the American dream. It's a trap. But there's a better way. A way to have everything you need, a whole lot of what you want, and a legacy you'll be proud to leave to your kids someday.
Absolutely, 100%. This is a snippet of the history of credit and how debt became a way of life. But right away to the conversation right now regarding how we as Africans can change the narrative of our continent and also in the political social sector is by actually standing up or standing for ourselves unapologetically. And we do have a conversation over here on how Lupita Nyong'o hopes to inspire joyful defiance. Let's listen in as we actually give our perspective.
What makes you optimistic, sister?
What makes me optimistic for Africa in the next 25 years? Africa is a very, very young continent. The people are young, and so I'm excited to see what that means for the world. You know, I'm excited for the continued takeover of African music in the world. Definitely. I love that I can go anywhere in the world these days and I will hear an African song without fail, a song from the African continent. That is wonderful. It makes the whole world feel more like home.
It's true.
I'm also really optimistic about my industry. Actually, I insist that my industry open the doors to embrace more African perspective. And yeah, I mean, my optimism, I definitely have my worries, but I also know that there are people like you and me in the world, and we've hopefully inspired a whole crop of other people who will be as defiant, joyfully defiant as we are to continue to create change.
That's from the one and only Lupita Nyong'o. I'm going to read a comment over here. She talked about how she's very optimistic for Africa's future and why she hopes to inspire joyful defiance and basically get to the conversation of what that really means, joyful defiance. Do you actually agree with that? But someone is saying over here, I love you, Lupita, but Africa is not a young continent. Everything that followed that statement made some sense, but really, young where? We are the genesis. We power everything in this world with our gifts, our purity, natural resources, and even in the evolution of technology. And I definitely agree with this statement right now because this is what you're not taught in school. This is what you're not actually being educated on. This is what you do not see in the media or people actually showcasing this when they come to Africa, hashtag Mr. Beast. And she says, we are power, we are the genesis. Going back to evolution of technology, history wouldn't have been made without Africa. Wrong, false history, 100%. Also, yes, the film industry still needs more inclusiveness, considering our history and culture are so diverse and ever-flowing like a river, deserving to be heard worldwide. But it's not the norm that you always see on the media, on social media. It's not the norm that you always see this filmmakers or bloggers who come to Africa, the places that they're always showcasing are like the worst places in Africa. And I can actually concur that every continent has their good sides and their bad side, or their positive side of the developed side or the non-developed side. I can say that they have the side which are like literally growing and some that are not actually developing, as you'll definitely expect. But Africa is the only continent that they'll always showcase the non-developed places. She says, yes, the film industry still needs more inclusiveness, considering our history and culture are so diverse and ever flowing like a river, deserving to be heard worldwide 100%. And also, shout out to Aisha Speed for showcasing the culture in different parts of Africa. By the end of the day, we are all one, but he's showcased the culture in different parts of Africa, the traditions, and a lot of people do not see that. So, shout out to him. Deserving to be heard worldwide. But when it comes to music, Africa has been the mother of all melodies because everything originated from Africa. And I agree with this statement. And someone saying we are the Genesis. We power everything in this world with our gifts, our purity, natural resources, and even in the evolution of technology. I'm going to read another comment over here. I'm saying Africa is a large continent with diverse people and cultures. In the past 20 years, Africa has shown enormous growth in the development of stronger institutional capacity, economic integration, stronger academic and professional classes. Africa has enjoyed a growing global recognition of African arts, literature, music, and fashion. I agree with that. I am optimistic. I have great hopes for Africa. This is good. Also, someone saying, I'm not completely sold on the young continent label, but one thing is certain, she nailed it. Africa is taking over, and Afrobeats, Amapiano, and our culture are at the center of it all. And then we do have the last compliment saying, y'all think she's saying Africa is a young continent because it's still growing and developing. And also because it has a youthful population. She's optimistic about the future and what it holds for them because of the vast growth of the young people actually emerging with so much intellect and very, very, very curious individuals who want to actually follow their paths, question things. They want to create. They want to stand for truth. They want to actually stand for justice. I see that generation right away. A generation that cannot be controlled by false narratives. That's what I see in this case. And then the last comment before I also actually share this video again. Somebody saying, I'm optimistic about our African children. They're not as limited in thought as we were raised. And that's a really, really good statement over there. Someone actually resonating of how they grew at their time and how this generation is very audacious and very, very revolutionary. So I'm saying they're audacious. They will transform Africa to lead the world. I believe in the African future. I'm optimistic about our African children. They are not as limited in thought as we were raised. They're audacious. They will transform Africa to lead the world, and I believe in the African future. And lastly, we do have Africa being a young continent might not be an appropriate word. However, young in self-awareness, that is true. That is true because we do not have a lot of individuals in Africa. We do have a capacity of people understand what's really happening in terms of learning and relearning and changing their mindset and narrative about Africa. But we also do have a large group of Africans that are actually not woke yet. Somebody saying, however, young in self-awareness and awakening in relation to the other continents like Europe, then could make sense. And lastly, I'll read another comment, but before that, I will re-share this video again.
What makes you optimistic, sister?
What makes me optimistic for Africa in the next 25 years? Africa is a very, very young continent. The people are young, and so I'm excited to see what that means for the world. You know, I'm excited for the continued takeover of African music in the world. Definitely. I love that I can go anywhere in the world these days and I will hear an African song without fail, a song from the African continent. That is wonderful. It makes the whole world feel more like home.
It's true.
I'm also really optimistic about my industry. Actually, I insist that my industry open the doors to embrace more African perspective. And yeah, I mean, my optimism, I definitely have my worries, but I also know that there are people like you and me in the world, and we've hopefully inspired a whole crop of other people who will be as defiant, joyfully defiant as we are, to continue to create change.
Absolutely. Good. Takes me back to the conversation. If you've watched Avatar, amazing. And everything, if you watch that movie, film, whatever, it talks about Africa's history, tradition. It takes you back to how Africa was before colonization, post-colonial era. It talks more about who we were or who we are and how the rest of the continent has been stealing and actually changing the narrative of what Africa is all about. So Avatar really talks more about Africa's culture, tradition, how we used to move around and relate with each other. It brings the medicine part of how we used to actually heal and just depend on Mother Earth, nature. And also it talks more about the power of nature. It's really, really, really beautiful. But right away, I want to share the video of the next conversation right now. Just a moment. But before that, I'll share some of the supplements we do have for you. But right away, let's listen into this conversation of how, where do we have it? Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so after 2 years of mostly silence on Sudan, it has now become the new cause for Western activists and for Muslims in the diaspora. And just like after October 7th, people who never thought about or never knew anything about Gaza or about Palestine, all of a sudden everyone became experts on the Middle East, and now everyone is an expert on Sudan. And unsurprisingly, this newfound expertise finds that just like with Gaza, the main culprits are the Arab states and the GCC, the UAE and so forth. With Gaza, it was mostly Egypt, but also Saudi Arabia and also the UAE and the GCC generally. They were always slandered as so-called Zionist accomplices by the liberal colonizer activists and by diaspora collaborators who ran interference for the Western white power structure. So yes, we should talk about Sudan. We should talk about Sudan. Middle Nation has been talking about Sudan since the beginning. I think we have at least around 17 or 18 videos on the channel about Sudan. And we've been talking about it regularly on the Telegram channel, the Telegram discussion channel, this whole time. So yes, Sudan needs to be discussed, but it needs to be discussed honestly. It needs to be discussed objectively, without Western narrative, without Western spin, without Western propaganda. But that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening at all. I wish I could be glad that Sudan is finally getting the attention that it deserves. I wish that Sudan was finally actually being discussed, but that's not what's happening. Yes, it is trending on social media. Sudan is trending on social media, and we must talk about Sudan. But Sudan is still not really what these people are talking about. They're not really talking about Sudan. They're talking about the UAE. And they're trying to explain away the conflict in Sudan as solely the product of the evil United Arab Emirates. Because their activism is never actually about what it's about. In fact, it's never about what it's about. It's always actually about attacking the Muslim governments, attacking Egypt, attacking the GCC, and so forth. Just like it was for Gaza. They don't care about Sudan, just like they didn't care about Yemen or anywhere else. You need to understand this. These people will never support a Muslim or never support a Muslim cause unless they can make it some kind of a way to attack other Muslims. That's the only way they'll ever support a Muslim cause. And you need to understand this too. For anyone who's in America or anyone who's in the West, to the Muslims in the diaspora, these people are never going to support Africans unless it's a way to attack other Africans. That's the only thing that will ever incentivize them to support Africans about anything, is if they can find a way to make that support for Africans a way to attack other Africans. And you're not even going to find them pretending to care about Sudan for very long, because they just don't care about black people, period. Right. So-called black people. There's one reason and one reason only that any of them are ever interested in even pretending to care about Sudan right now, after 2 years of not caring. In fact, after 30 years of not caring. And that's because they have found a way to make their care about Sudan a way to attack the United Arab Emirates. And it gives them a way to try to drive a wedge between the Arab Muslims and the African Muslims, and to pretend that there are such a thing as Arab Sudanese and African Sudanese, which in and of itself was already a British construct to begin with. That's a colonizer construct. And the last thing that the West wants is to see Muslims, to see unity between Muslims in Africa and Muslims in the Arab world. You know, half the continent of Africa is Muslim and has been for centuries. No, if a Muslim cause cannot be used as a vehicle for attacking other Muslims, they're not interested. They're not interested at all. Because this is what their real activism is about. That's their real activism. These activists are committed to attacking Muslim sovereignty, attacking Muslim cohesion, attacking Muslim regional power. That's what they're really, that's the real focus of their activism. And if you're foolish enough to go along with this, to collaborate with the West in pushing these sorts of deceitful narratives, well, I feel sorry for you. They'll tell you that the RSF is a proxy militia of the UAE, and the UAE is trying to carry out a colonial takeover of Sudan. Because what? They need the gold, right? That's their narrative.
Absolutely. And that's where they swore. No, we definitely know about this.
If they need the gold, they need the agricultural land. They want ports to control the Red Sea. So they have empowered the RSF to take over Sudan. You know, or if not the entirety of Sudan, then at least to take over Darfur. The UAE is financing RSF. They're arming RSF. They're even providing troops to the RSF and so forth. This is the narrative that they're pushing.
And I believe if Africans, most Africans, because we do have a very small number of Africans that understand what actually we're talking about right now. If we did have a lot of Africans actually following the pattern of how these other nations try to actually create this unity, which they actually did, because right now we are living in the manifestation of the Berlin Conference, and the fact that Africa has been separated into this little fragmentation of the countries we do have, and the fact that we are not united, that makes it more important for them to actually keep stealing and keep dominating. But can you imagine if a large amount of Africans understood this burden on how they work? Because it will definitely confuse them. We won't never ever have to fight against each other. We'll bring back the spirit of Ubuntu. We'll definitely gather and become one, as we should be.
Okay, and everyone is just going along with it, hook, line, and sinker. And as long as they can repeat it enough, the narrative gets picked up in the algorithm. They'll just have to keep repeating it, and it'll get picked up, and they'll never have to prove anything. The same way that they told lie after lie after lie, and it spread like wildfire across social media about Saudi Arabia and about the GCC and so forth being so-called in bed with the Zionists and so on. No one ever has to prove anything. And the debunking never spreads as far and as wide as the lies do. Because the West already made you hate your own people, made you hate your own states, made you hate your own government so much.
100%.
Always ready to believe anything and everything that they say that's bad about them. Your hatred is all the proof that you need. Your inferiority complex
100%
makes everything bad about the Muslims true in your mind. And you take as authoritative the word of people who have never in their lives, never in their entire history, ever told anything but lies. You understand? And you are casually, reflexively dismissive. You dismiss as lies anything that our own governments say, anything that our own people say.
It's easy for an African to believe a white man, even right now, if there's a white man here and there's an African man here. and both of them are telling you something. Who do you think they're going to believe, the white man or the black man? They'll believe the white man, and that's the narrative showcasing that we're still colonized in the mind. Before we go back to that conversation, I want to share another video of how we can actually change Africa's narrative by the one and only Angelique.
5-time Grammy Award-winning Fireball Queen of African Music, Angelique Kidjo. Inside Africa is celebrating 25 years. Where were you 25 years ago, and how do you think the story of Africa has changed today?
I think I was just arriving in France, running away from dictatorship. And after the first year, I realized the gift that my parents gave me. And Africa has changed drastically. Because if I have started my career today in Africa, I would have never leave my continent. Because the technology will have allowed me to have the same impact staying home instead of living.
I mean, we're from two generations, but when I hear your story, your parents remind me of mine, you know, in terms of like allowing you to pursue the thing that you were most interested in.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
And that's what brings us to here after 25 years. Our stories are in pieces. And we cannot, I think profoundly, we cannot transform our continent, not only in storytelling, but in arts, in economics, in science, in everything. How do we reclaim?
Before they continue, I believe, as what Peter mentioned earlier, music has actually changed the narrative in a way of how people view Africa. And also, she said, when you can literally hear any African music whenever you go in this world, and in a way, it makes you a little bit, I cannot say in wholesome, make you feel like home. So I believe we can definitely tell our story through arts. That's like the social, economic, political sector, but mostly socially in arts, and how we actually portray Africa in also film.
Claim our own continent if we don't start by knowing each other's story.
Exactly. 5-time Grammy Award-winning Fireball Queen of African Music, Angelique Kidjo. Inside Africa is celebrating 25 years. Where were you 25 years ago, and how do you think the story of Africa has changed today?
I think I was just arriving in France, running away from dictatorship. And after the first year, I realized the gift that my parents gave me. And Africa has changed drastically. Because if I have started my career today in Africa, I would have never leave my continent. Because the technology will have allowed me to have the same impact staying home instead of living.
I mean, we're from two generations, but when I hear your story, your parents remind me of mine, you know, in terms of like allowing you to pursue the thing that you were most interested in.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
And that's what brings us to here after 25 years. Our stories are in pieces. And we cannot, I think profoundly, we cannot transform our continent, not only in storytelling, but in arts, in economics, in science, in everything. How do we reclaim our own continent?
Absolutely. Also goes back to reclaiming our power by what she's saying right now. And also it gives a perspective on reviving the spirit of Ubuntu, because if we were actually curious and really interested in learning each other's story, it means you're literally putting your guard down, not thinking like the other country is better than you or fighting against each other, because we are all Africans by the end of the day. And if we're learning each other's culture, and I believe the fact that we were all one, we shared a lot of traditions and cultures, name it, but the fact that Africa has been divided into this little fragmentation of the countries, a lot of people do not understand each other's culture, but they are all actually the same. If you learn maybe Ugandan's culture, if you learn the West African culture, it actually brings a whole puzzle in one form, which means we're all one. And that actually takes you to the fact that we need to be intentional about reviving the spirit of Ubuntu.
If we don't start by knowing each other's story.
Exactly.
That's it in regards to how can Africans change Africa's narrative. Another perspective on how we can do that is this right away.
From America to South Africa was actually hell-bent in South Africa supporting Palestine. So you also have that dynamic. And thirdly, South Africa being one of the key financial hubs in the South. Should America lose its grip on South Africa, they will have lost the entire of the Southern Hemisphere. That means the whole the SADC countries will start migrating towards the East. In America, they don't have that. And fourthly, South Africa is one of the biggest uranium producers in the South.
Yeah.
And as such, America could be scared that should this animal go off their hands, the beneficiation, the development, and the interest of that uranium from other countries that are actually nuclear bent could actually end up with South Africa as a key supplier of some of those products. If from my own space, that can become one of the, and lastly, South Africa houses one of the greatest population of whites in the South. And you saw Trump the other day sending an aeroplane to pick up the white South Africans. And why didn't he send an aeroplane to pick up the blacks during apartheid? And now you show us your true colors. And I'm not surprised. Because the other day we discovered that Trump himself, he's a German. So these are his cousins.
Yeah.
So he came to redeem his cousins.
Do you think South Africa will bow to the pressure?
There is enough political pressure within the younger political spaces like Malema, and but again, the corruption of money, the George Soros of this world, the Oppenheimers, and the Stellenbosch mafias, and other globalists who have a direct interest in the business of South Africa, the banking and the insurance companies, they would.
He said globalists.
Play the games of gambling, because even Ramaphosa himself, there was more than $2 billion that was found running around tables to install him as president, to an extent that there's actually a cry of the legitimacy of that president. But the financial houses were interested in him as a businessman to assume that position. So to ask a question like, will the Western world be so reluctant on their grip on South Africa? They're not in a hurry.
You don't think they can learn from what Burkina Faso has done?
Hence, the blackmail and propaganda around Burkina Faso continues. And if America had its way, like the way they did with Mugabe, when he took the land, they beat him so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. We became a laughingstock of the whole world. Not because we were evil, not because we killed any whites. No. It was to show any other African government that dare you touch land. And you try it as Kenya. You try it as Kenya. Take away land from these white people. You want sanctions by tomorrow morning.
We're almost playing with fire at some point, I think, with the Batuk. There's an issue with Batuk.
You don't start. You don't, unless you're ready for what happened to us. And again, look at the fear. Look at the fear of sanctions. And it's all being held over your sovereignty and your land ownership.
So when you look at South Africa and then inequalities that are there, then what does it mean for the black person? Because we are seeing all these inequalities of saying we need the white people taken to where they are safe. And Trump is demanding that these white people actually are being targeted. Well, in real sense, it's not the truth. It's the vice versa. What does Ramaphosa do?
Hence I'm mentioning it as hypocrisy. And dare you put on the blanket of illusion, a mirage of political expediency and freedom without economic empowerment, you're still a slave. Because at the end of the day, you can have your flag, you can have your votes, you can have your slogans, but you still have to go to the bank and beg from those that are running the economy. Therefore, true freedom is not just political freedom, it's also economic emancipation. And systems such as the BEE,
the economic, political, and social. And we've seen that the main reason actually right now we do have our economic sector has been draining like for quite a longest time. And as I said earlier, if all Africans can actually understand the pattern of how these things have been working, it will be so easy to actually just reclaim our power, because it has been a pattern. It has been a system that has actually been created to cripple Africans in Africa, and it has been working. So how can we actually relearn from that? How can we understand this pattern on how the globalists actually come in, talk about wars, how they actually have to create wars in African countries or whatever other nation for them to benefit? But if there's no war and there is also unity, how will they benefit? So if we understand the pattern, we win. And also, if we understand that other nations are actually standing because of Africa, it'll be easier for us to reclaim our power. But how many people are open to this? How many people are ready to actually reclaim and take back their power? How many people are ready to actually scrape up the inferiority complex, because whatever they've been taught is a lie. Everything has been built on a lie in Africa. The system, educational system, the political system, the economic system has been built on lies. And we are still believing the nation that are actually manipulating Africa, controlling Africa, whatever they still tell us, we still follow. So how can we break out of that, Marilei?
Empowerment, the broad-based economic empowerment will be projects that Mandela and Mbeki had instituted, and Zuma, at the coming of Ramaphosa, all those things were turned upside down again. And the economy right now, the disparity between the rich and the poor is quite vast. The poor are really poor.
Yeah.
And the rich are extremely rich to an extent that they want to create Cape Town to become a separate country altogether away from South Africa, and as a hub of the neo-colonialistic white capital monopoly at its crux, with Stellenbosch, this famous Stellenbosch, as a capital city of these mafias, financial mafias, who are negotiating business on behalf of their multinational companies who are in the foreign West.
But then what does it say if, for instance, South Africa is being targeted because they were supporting Palestine? What does it say about an independent country and choosing where to align?
Oh, now you're grown up now. You understand?
Yeah, technology is here.
Domestic policies have an international impact. But whatever decisions you're making, even if you claim to be sovereign and independent in your decisions, there's nothing called an independent decision. Your decisions must be monitored by the big brother. And you must play the game. And I got scared the other day.
Why?
Actually, to hear that the United Nations is coming right here. The moving office is here, and you are one of the biggest holders of foreign NGOs and multinational companies. I wonder if Kenya is not a hibernating ground and supervision of Africa through all this complex web of these international organizations that are actually monitoring Africa from Kenya.
I want to understand also, South Africa, again, is a member of BRICS. Do you think then they would have an opportunity of turning from America? Of course, it's a global leader, so maybe not. But what would the impact of being a member of BRICS do to the tariffs that they're facing?
It's tricky because BRICS started during the Zuma regime. And when Ramaphosa went into power, the motion was already in place. It must be mentioned that BRICS still remains a sore thumb on the American policy, particularly in its relationship with America.
Yeah.
If America had had its chance during Ramaphosa's time, I don't think South Africa would have been part of the BRICS. It's just my assumption. But now that it is there,
yeah,
it has not been given a fully fledged support and participation so that South Africa can become an active member fully to withdraw the benefits of BRICS and make them visible to the community. Right now, just remains as an idea that is in the air.
So there's nothing they're getting at the moment, you think?
They're a member there, but we cannot say we now have a BRICS bank in South Africa where loans are being distributed, where policies are being developed, where land is being repossessed or is being paid for, and BRICS is actively involved in the economic participation. You know, it is still an idea that is somewhere there, but I don't think as a yet to plug. Zimbabwe has already applied to join.
Yeah.
But to plug in your USB cables and begin to withdraw the benefits of this concept of BRICS, as it were, I would love to see military exchange between our countries, agricultural exchanges, technological exchange. BRICS must be everywhere. We need a currency of the BRICS. For crying out loud, before even the African currency can come into space. We need passports for BRICS. We need free trade zones for BRICS. So it's one thing to always, as Africans, when we walk into tables with bigger boys, you always wait for the crumbs that fall from the table. I think we need to set up an agenda that if BRICS must work for us, what is it that we want from it? We want a BRICS university. We want a BRICS exchange technological platform. We want a BRICS satellite for our own propaganda and information sharing. We want a movement of people, exchange of research papers, and movement of Chinese and Russians into our institutions of learning and taking our own stuff also and sending them that interaction to allow this fruit salad to become consumable.
I remember when Dr. Arikana mentioned the understanding who you are as an African, the African identity, who you are, and how the rest of the world is actually benefiting from Africa, or they are developing each and every day because of Africans' resources. And as I said earlier, if you understand the pattern, if a lot of Africans understand that pattern has been a pattern, a narrative, I believe you definitely claim your power unapologetically. And if you have that confidence, because definitely if you do a lot of relearning and learning of your identity, the African history, you understand who you are. And if you do not have an identity, you do not have any power. That was Joshua Maponga saying, literally, always says that if you don't know who you are, you do not have any power. And that's how our narrative of our history has been intertwined with lies, right? And that's where the inferiority complex joined in. But if we understand it has been intertwined, or basically just exchanged, like the other way around, we will be like, nothing goes until we say so. You're not the one to actually to give us a go ahead. We are the one to make this decision, and it has to benefit us first before anybody else.
I've not felt. I've lived in South Africa for more than 30 years, and I've not picked up the scent of BRICS within the economic participation space.
So do you think BRICS itself as an organization, so to say, is going to beat the Western idea of operating on the economic space?
A good idea implemented gently will fail. A bad idea implemented violently will succeed.
You want them violent?
No. When I'm saying violently, even in the midst of, when I'm saying using the word violent, I'm saying being intentional.
Yeah.
But again, it will push me back 2 steps back to say, when you set up the BRICS organization, how many legs does it have? How many hands does it have? How many eyes? Can it see? Can BRICS hear the demands and the requests of the people on the ground? Is BRICS willing to move away from the boardrooms and start walking to the dirty waters that people are drinking, the infrastructures that are dilapidated, the financial loans that people are in demand of, the industries that want to develop? Is it still okay in BRICS that China is a part of us, but you're still taking lithium from here and taking it to Gonzo? Since we're a family now, what do you lose by moving your factory into your BRICS friend like South Africa, and then move the lithium from Zimbabwe and produce from here? So is it a cosmetic conversation around the financial support system, or this system will actually become an active participant in terms of transforming the economies, particularly of the third world countries, and industrialization of Africa?
Yeah, and Joshua Maponga says that Africa needs dictators, not democracy. And from this conversation, we can see that from maybe my understanding, I can't mention, what's his name? Ibrahim Traore. Positive dictators who are not actually not taking from the people, and also who are implementing dire laws in Africa, because that's what we don't have, dire laws. Everything, you can get away with anything here, and it's a fact, and it's very, very unfortunate. And Joshua Maponga talks about Africa needs dictators and not democracy, because doesn't really work. Your Mosquito, I see you over there. Read your comments. I'm just going to share some of the supplements we do have before we wind up. And I can see people joining me. I'll read your comments right away. General Mosquito, just kindly allow me a moment to do that right away. But let me know how you're feeling, how you're doing.
Discover the natural power of ashwagandha, an ancient herb known for its healing properties. For over 3,000 years, ashwagandha has been trusted to reduce stress, increase energy, and improve focus. Our ashwagandha is carefully grown, harvested, and processed to retain its maximum potency, Each root is hand-picked and dried, then ground into a pure organic powder, ensuring the highest quality. Simply mix 1 teaspoon into your favorite beverage or take it in capsule form as prescribed by a healthcare professional. Whether you're looking to balance your stress levels, boost your immune system, or enhance mental clarity, ashwagandha offers a natural solution. Experience the benefits of ancient wisdom backed by modern science. Trust nature. Trust ashwagandha. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition Store.
Looked at for $23.90. I see Jerome Mosquito at Mwenyeji Spike saying afternoon. Jumbo, Mr. Jerome Mosquito. And Jerome Mosquito, you have a comment over there that I will share. And you're saying exactly, Ewerton, you're practically dead if you don't know who you are. It's only when you know who you are that you start living. And I am in concurrent with that. As we're almost winding up right away, I want to share a video of the one and only Nicki Minaj, and the comments are actually wild. Let me just share that right away. So rapper Nicki Minaj spoke at the United Nations. I know we talked about this. It happened a few months ago, about attacks against Christians in Nigeria. After being introduced by President Donald Trump's ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, CNN's, or basically breaks down the Trump administration, claims there is mass slaughter of Christians by Islamist insurgents.
In Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed.
Why is Nicki Minaj talking about Nigerian Christians at the United Nations? That's because President Trump claims that there is a mass slaughter of Nigerian Christians, and the Nigerian government is allowing it to happen. He has threatened to send in U.S. troops.
Guns are blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities.
But Nigeria denies this. It says this is a terrorism problem, and Christians and Muslims are both getting killed.
Protecting Christians in Nigeria is not about taking sides or dividing people. It is about uniting humanity.
President Trump's own Africa advisor, Massad Boulos, a Lebanese-American businessman who made his fortune in Nigeria, previously said that more Muslims than Christians were getting killed by Boko Haram and other terrorist groups.
People are suffering from all sorts of backgrounds. This is not specifically targeted about one group or the other.
The issue of the persecution of Nigerian Christians was first raised by a separatist group in the country. It made its way to the U.S. right, and eventually directly to President Trump.
Absolutely. And we do have a conversation that I was sharing right away right now. Why the West pushes wars to loot us. That's Africans in Africa. Why the West pushes wars to loot us. We did have a comment over here right away and said, when has America cared about Christians in America? Let alone Nigeria. They're using her as a mouthpiece to invade Nigeria. Mali and Burkina Faso. That's what this is all about. Let's be real. And then someone else is saying over here, in Sudan, humans of all ethnicities and religions are being killed. Also, we do have another conversation or another comment over here. 2 days ago, 25 young girls, students, were kidnapped from their school here in Nigeria. Just yesterday in a church in Kwara, more were kidnapped and some killed. It's becoming an everyday occurrence in Nigeria, and our government is not doing anything about it. But the one that really caught my attention is, when has America cared about Christians in America, let alone Nigeria? They're using her as a mouthpiece to invade Nigeria, Mali, and Burkina Faso. That's what this is all about. We're coming to the end of the show, family. Jerome Mosquito, I see you over there with your comment. I can see also Mwenyeji Spikes. How are we doing? I hope you all were listening to How Can Africans Change Africa's Narrative? And thanks for joining us right away. Remember, you can download our app on the Google Play Store, stream on www.blackhotfireradionetwork.com for amazing health. These supplements, apparel clothing with the Black Hot Fire Radio logo on it, just shared the likes of ashwagandha, beetroot, Manuka honey coffee for $59.90. But that has been my time on Let's Talk with Airton. Always sending you so much love and light because you are the change you need to see in the world. Much love.
Greetings and salutations, massive. It's Andrew Robinson, your Jamaican brother, all the way in Switzerland. And you're tuning into the Black Hot Fire Radio. And you're listening to